Hi folks, I'm Dr. Steve Klein. I'm on the faculty of the Department of Communication at the University of Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you to your new class. This video is a brief course introduction to COMM 3572, Argument and Advocacy. Over the next several minutes, I want to present to you the purpose and the objectives of the course. What is it that we're going to do, and why are we going to do it? I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I want to give you a sense of the various things that you're going to do in order to learn about argument and advocacy and to achieve the objectives of the course through assignments and how I'm going to evaluate them with your grades. And finally, just a very brief overview of some important course policies that you'll find a bit more information about in the course syllabus. But first of all, an important thing to think about is why take a course in argument and advocacy? When a lot of people are asked about the notion of argument, whether they like arguing, whether arguments are something that they're comfortable engaging in, there are some folks who are into it. Maybe they like the competition, the intellectual exercise. It's something that entertains them. But most people, most of the time, when they think about the word argument, they think about something that involves emotional conflict. And this is the kind of thing that we often tend to want to avoid because emotional conflicts are uncomfortable. We don't want to be seen as causing trouble for somebody else, and we often make important connections that sometimes can be really faulty connections between positions that we take and the kind of people that we actually are. And this gets especially problematic when we think about the public sphere, a concept we'll talk about in this course that deals with the ways in which we engage in discourse, discussion, and debate about important public issues. A lot of what we see in the public sphere when it comes to argument and advocacy often seems like it's a bunch of really emotionally exercised people yelling at each other. It seems like not a whole lot productive gets accomplished, and so when we think about political argument, we think about something that's kind of distasteful and something we don't want to do. However, this is really something about the nature of public discourse that I want to change your mind about in this class. Literally for thousands of years, argument has been seen as one of the cornerstones, not just of a liberal arts education, a way of being a fully educated person able to engage public citizenship, but indeed, argument has been seen as one of the primary means of actually generating as well as disseminating knowledge. Starting from the ancient Greeks, some of whom we'll talk about in this course, argument has been seen as a central act of citizenship. And as we go through the history of not just the United States, but the entire world, we see these moments where absolutely critical public issue controversies, for instance, the controversy over slavery and emancipation in the 19th century that was classically illustrated in the 1858 Illinois Senate election featuring the now historic debates between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas. We're not just seeing political competition to determine who's going to win and who's going to lose in a specific situation. These are the kinds of discussions that shape not only public opinion, but our knowledge and our value structures about the things that are important. And we think about how we govern ourselves in a civil society, in a democratic political culture. There are so many things that we simply can't accomplish without the practice of argument and advocacy in public communication. So not just how we elect our public officials, but how we decide what the best courses of action of public policy are going to be, how we engage in judgments over right and wrong to answer questions of justice in our legal system, how we determine what the important values and principles and ethical priorities are that drive our culture and define us as the kind of people that we want to be. Argument and advocacy are forms of public communication that are absolutely central to those processes. And of course, not to mention that the approach of argument as a logical, a persuasive, and a knowledge constructive or epistemic activity is a form of public communication that's absolutely crucial to most, if not all, professional careers you might be interested in. Given the importance of this course, we need to think about what we want to do. And so the purposes and objectives of the class can be summed up pretty easily. We're going to talk about argumentation theory and practice. What does it mean to construct an argument? What is argumentation? And what are some important perspectives or points of view that can help us understand this subject? You're going to learn how to construct and present arguments that are logically sound, persuasive for a target audience, and appropriate for the situation and the issue controversy that you find yourself in. We're going to be able to construct written arguments as well as publicly present persuasive arguments in oral presentation. But it's not just figuring out how to argue. You're also going to learn how to evaluate public arguments critically. We're going to spend a good deal of time in this class looking at examples of arguments and trying to unpack them from a logical point of view, from the standpoint of rhetorical persuasion, as well as from the standpoint of whether or not the arguments that are presented are done so in a way, in a format, or a procedure that's actually conducive to good public decision making. One of the big things you're going to do as a term project, I'll mention a bit later in this video, is to collaborate in a team over the course of a semester-long project. That'll give you an opportunity to do research on a public controversy, to analyze the issues that are involved, to figure out what are the primary points of dispute over this controversy, and to advocate on one side or another of a public policy proposition that advocates some course of action in order to deal with the problem at the heart of that controversy. And while we're doing all of these things, most importantly, what I want you to get out of this class is to have a real understanding and respect for the importance of argument, controversy, and debate for citizens in a civil society. It's absolutely central, as I said, to the functioning of a democratic public culture, as well as to any social enterprise, including employment opportunities, as well as local activism and involvement in public issues as a regular ordinary citizen. We need to be able to argue, and we need to be able to advocate our points of view in ways that maintain the process of civil citizenship and prudent public judgment. So, that's what the course is going to be about. You're going to be spending some time with me over the course of the semester, so maybe you should get a chance to get to know me. This is my contact information. It's also available on the course syllabus. Let me tell you a bit about myself. I was a graduate student at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign back in the day, getting my PhD in speech communication in 1999. My areas of specialization were rhetorical theory and criticism with a special emphasis on political communication. I worked for a few years after grad school at Boston University in their College of Communication before shifting back to the Midwest, working at Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois for approximately 15 years in their Department of Communication. And it was there that I developed some expertise in teaching not only courses in argumentation, but also in public speaking, political communication, media theory, and communication research. I've started in the fall of 2015 working here at the University of Missouri. My primary areas of interests are in the areas of rhetoric and political communication. And so this art and science of public argument is something that is literally thousands of years old and yet absolutely applicable to contemporary public culture. And it's something that I really get into. My seeds of interest in this area go at least as far back as my participation on the high school debate team back during the Reagan administration, as well as a college major in speech communication and theater and political science as a double major. My family consists of my wife, Laura, who teaches science education courses in the College of Education here at Mizzou. And I've got two kids, Allison and Zachary. Here we are just getting off the log flume ride at Worlds of Fun. And so hanging out with my family is something that's really important to me. When I'm not teaching and doing research in areas of rhetoric and political communication, and I'm not hanging out with my family, among the other things that I like to do involve role-playing video games. I've just recently also gotten involved in Magic the Gathering. I am a full-on geek and a pretty big pop culture trivia fanatic as well. And I also enjoy running in 5K races, although I'm currently in the process of trying to get back into shape with a 5K training regimen after falling off the wagon seriously. The holiday season can be really, really rough. But that's me, and I'm looking forward this semester to getting to know you over the course of the 15 weeks. So in order to achieve the learning objectives and course purposes that I discussed earlier, what is it exactly you're going to be doing in this class? Well, there's a total of 625 points that are going to be assessed through a variety of different learning experiences, and in a nutshell, here's what they are. One of the first things that you're going to do is participate in what I'll call a balloon debate. In other words, you're going to be assigned a historical figure, and you have to provide a series of logical, persuasive arguments as to why you and not your competitors should be kept alive in a hot air balloon and not thrown down into a pool of sharks below. This is going to be an assignment that helps you understand and reinforce the basic elements of argument construction. You're going to learn about argument analysis and evaluation throughout the semester, and one of the things that you're going to do is analyze and evaluate examples of argument based on a theory and method from the English philosopher Stephen Toulmin. There's going to be a variety of quizzes in the course that are going to reinforce your understanding of the course readings, and I'll say more about that in just a bit. There's going to be a midterm and a final exam, each worth 100 points. It will consist of matching and multiple choice and fill-in-the-blank short answer objective items, as well as the occasional short essay to help you learn how to apply and compare and contrast important ideas. As I mentioned earlier, one of the hallmarks of the course is a semester-long team debate project. And then, of course, class participation is something that's very important. Now, I recognize that active participation in class in the forms of asking and answering questions and participating in discussion isn't necessarily easy for everybody. So if you fall into this category, please don't hesitate to give me a call, shoot me an email, and drop by the office so we can discuss some possible strategies for how you can get more comfortable in classroom discussions. In order for you to have a good understanding of the important concepts and ideas and skill sets that you're going to apply, not just in the exams and not just in the course assignments, but in that whole thing called public and professional life after college, we're going to have what I like to refer to as multiple option quizzes. Now, this is intended not just to make sure that you understand and retain the important ideas from the reading, but it's also going to build some important skills of active reading and note-taking to engage the material before class, as well as to help you prepare for your exams. So the reading questions for these quizzes are already provided on the blackboard. If you go through the daily and weekly schedule, you'll see that all of the quiz questions for the entire semester are already provided for you in advance. So when you have to read for a given day, you should take notes and outline as you read, focusing in particular on those 4 to 6 questions that I've provided. And then when we get to class, the first thing we'll do is randomly determine, are we going to have a quiz that day or not have a quiz that day? Then, if we have a quiz, we'll randomly determine which of those 4 to 6 questions I'll give you a quiz on. And then you'll have 5 minutes approximately to answer. Sometimes I'll give you a few more minutes if it's a complicated question. The quiz is going to be closed book, but it's going to be open notes. So any notes that you took the days before when you were reading and preparing during your study time, you can use in order to answer the question, up to and including drafting out answers in advance for those questions. Because I'm more concerned with you thinking and engaging and finding the answers to these questions in advance rather than just randomly being able to remember it and then regurgitate it back on a closed notes quiz. We're going to have at least one quiz per every week that we have course readings. So you'll notice that we're probably going to have a good number of quizzes above and beyond the 6 that we need for the course grade. Your grade for the mock section is going to be based on your top 6 quiz scores. So if you happen to miss a class period or 2 for whatever reason, or maybe you really kind of bombed a quiz or 2 because you really didn't do the reading the way that you should have, it's normal. It happens to everybody. The way that this course section is structured accounts for that. You'll get graded on your top 6, and then low scores will drop out. Now, of course, as I said before, classroom participation is something that's important, not just to engage the material and learn it better, but when we're talking about argument on public issues and public controversies, class discussion can sometimes be the most enlightening and interesting aspects of the course. So classroom participation involves such things as answering questions, so making sure that you're prepared on the reading, and it's not just an empty exercise. If you're able to actually vocally articulate the answer to the question, it actually helps you reinforce your understanding and knowledge so you can retain that better than if you just stayed silent. That's cognitive psychology. That's not just me making that stuff up. Asking questions as well is really important. Ironically, sometimes it's the case that those folks who aren't as clear on whether or not they understand the concept are sometimes the most reluctant to ask questions in class because they don't want to look like they don't know what they're talking about. Well, you can rest assured that the vast majority of folks in the class aren't as comfortable and confident in the course material because it's a new class. That's why we call it education. And so you don't have to feel bad about it. It's a safe space to ask questions. If you think you might know the answer and you get it wrong, that's fine. We'll clarify that. That's how you learn. Contributing substantive points to class discussion, of course, is really important. And making use of office hours is something that I consider classroom participation. No, it's not required to go to my office hours at all. But if you do make use of office hours to get clarifications on some concepts or on some assignments, sometimes that can really make the difference in being able to effectively understand what's going on. Sometimes the one-on-one is more effective than the classroom context. So I'm in 314 Switzler Hall. My office hours are listed on the syllabus and on Blackboard, and you can go through Blackboard to get to MU Connect, and that's how you can sign up for appointment slots. Or if you happen to be in the neighborhood while I've got office hours going on, feel free to drop by without an appointment. If I don't have other students in the office, that's your time. That's why we call it office hours. So there's a few important course policies that I just want to briefly outline regarding the required textbook, attendance and late work, as well as academic integrity. The course book that you're going to need is Inch and Tudor's Critical Thinking and Communication, the 7th edition. And you're going to be responsible for readings in that book starting with the second day of class during the first week of the semester. So you want to make sure that you get a hold of this as quickly as possible. It's available not just at the Mizzou store, but also through the publisher and through Amazon and other sellers. I've provided links for you on the Blackboard. Rental copies as well as electronic book copies are available if you don't want to have the expense of having the hard copy in your hands. But you do need to have the book as soon as possible in the first week, and you should count on bringing this book to class every day. Class attendance is important, and attendance is going to be taken every day. There isn't a hard and set number of absences that you need to have in order for grade deductions to happen, as is the case in some other courses, but unexcused absences do cut against your participation grade. Obviously, you can't participate if you're not here. Missed mocks as well as missed in-class exercises can't be made up. In the case of quizzes, as I mentioned before, that assignment has been structured, so if you miss a couple, that's okay because those scores will drop out and other quiz scores will replace it. Turning in your work late is a real problem, not just for me having to deal with providing feedback at a variety of different schedules, but also problematic for you because the more you push back work, the more that you get jammed up in your own life with your other classes. So as a policy, late work is not accepted in my class except for emergency circumstances. And if it is a true emergency circumstance, that's something that needs to be cleared by me. Please note that my computer crashed is generally not an emergency circumstance. There are lots of computers on campus, and you have multiple opportunities through flash drives and personal and school accounts to save your work and back it up as you're doing it. So please try to avoid using the my laptop died and I don't know what to do as an excuse. Just turn your work in. And finally, with regard to academic integrity, University of Missouri takes it very seriously, as does the Department of Communication, as do I. So in this course, all written work is going to be submitted both in hard copy and on Blackboard through the Smart Assign link. In this class, as is the case with most of the classes in the Department of Communication, APA citation style is required. Your syllabus has some more details with regard to the kinds of things that you need to do in order to make sure that you're using and citing sources effectively. Please know that a minimum response for a plagiarized assignment is getting a 0 grade on that assignment. And depending on the nature of the plagiarism or other form of academic integrity violation, this could also involve a report to the provost's office, which could end up involving a failure in the entire course or other sorts of responses. So the short version is just don't cheat. See the syllabus for some more details, as well as some guidelines on ways that you can avoid this stuff. Now, if you take this course seriously, one of the things you're going to find is that you have a real opportunity to develop yourself as a public advocate. I really enjoy this picture because it's a picture of Harvard championship ranked collegiate debaters that are competing against a team from a prison. And you might have run across the news story on your social media feed that this prison debate team actually beat the team of seasoned, experienced Harvard University debaters. They were part of a program in which Bates College and other educators worked with prison inmates to actually develop their skills of logical argument analysis, research of issues, the construction of persuasive arguments, and the conduct of debate and refuting the positions of others. And this team beat the Harvard team, and it made national news. I bring this up to point out a really important idea, and that is just because you might see yourself as somebody who's not necessarily good at argument or good at public speaking doesn't necessarily mean that you can't learn these skills, develop them, understand the concepts and theories behind them, and really become effective as a public advocate. All it takes is your willingness and the opportunity to roll up your sleeves and work with it and learn this stuff. And I think what you're going to find once you get into the process of engaging in argument and advocacy in the safe space of a classroom context is that you'll have a real understanding and a greater comfort with being able to engage issues, to engage in discussions and debates and other forms of public discourse out there, feeling more confident and remembering that argument is not an emotional diatribe that's necessarily a negative thing, but it's absolutely central to the way that we make decisions and cast our judgments. And it's not something that's wrapped up with our personal qualities, but it's something that is an important intellectual and public exercise. If you've got any questions at all about the course, about me, or about other matters regarding the subject matter or the Department of Communication, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks, and I'll see you in class.